Papa Smithy, but...
The Ezreal of line graphs.
Okay, but the bans are now coming through, ladies and gentlemen. No surprises with the Xerath hitting the bench here, aimed at Barker and Viger needing to be taken away from Liam. And this is looking pretty reminiscent of our matchup last night here, with Azir being taken off the board as well.
The national pride of Sherma, as you mentioned, being locked away in the first 2 picks. Suddenly the mid lane pool already looking a bit close. The claustrophobic, you have to say, for Barker. You know, he plays those 2 champions very, very well. He has other champions, I'm sure, but just not on the level of the Xerath and Azir.
Yeah, and I want to see his Victor come out and actually do well, because, of course, he's just so much fun to watch. I just love the fact that, you know, when you've got these new champions just sort of breaking out, they don't necessarily have any big changes that came through. People are just working out how to play them. Unfortunately, Barker not quite pulling out a victory yesterday, but still looked good. Kassadin going to be the final ban here, aimed more likely at Flandre, but Barker has picked that one up in the past as well. And MLXG's Nidalee going to hit the bench at the same time. We'll see what actually comes through next as far as that ban. It is going to be Assassin's Ari. Very intelligent ban here on 5.2.
So Rek'Sai is the obvious pick away. Rek'Sai's been so favored with the Nidalee jungle gone. Definitely the most contested top lane. With Rumble and Aurelia both available, both Sky's strongest top laners, no need to lock away with one just yet. Just pick up the Rek'Sai.
Yeah, Flandre has the opportunity to pick up that Rumble if he wants to. Has been steering away from it as far as the first round picks are concerned. And Beast, he's got anything that he'd like to pick up. Crystal, Kalista might be coming through. The Kalista there in the bottom lane. And Beast, he can go the Nunu. I just want to see the Nunu. That's all
I would like to the Nunu too.
Oh.
For some reason, all those supportive junglers just disappeared on 5.2. There was nothing innate about the patch change, but everyone was like, all right, no more Sightstones, no more Nunu. Let's go to those real carry junglers. They're going to go with the Annie early. It's the very aggressive flavor of Kalista lane. Kalista Annie, the Fate's Call to get the Tibbers just in the right spot. We already saw Crystal pick up that Kalista and do disgusting things against Vici, forcing a surrender a few weeks ago. You give this man a hyper carry, you know that Snake can play that type of game.
Oh, yeah, and there are a lot of options here for King, though. I mean, they can pick off the Vi. They can... Oh, well, they actually can't, because, of course, Rek'Sai is going to be heading into that jungle, but they have the opportunity to take away a potential Morgana here that Flandre loves to play in that top lane. Don't think that that Annie means anything as far as potential Morganas coming through, but Liam looking to pick up the Thresh here at the same time. Has played it recently, of course. Played 5 different champions in his last 5 games.
They're very much locked in their picks, you'd have to say. That the jungle, top, and support are all locked in. There's no flexibility about these picks. Flex picks have been the name of the game the whole LPL, so I think it's a bit risky to tip your hand this early in the draft by King.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, I want to see Barker pick up Annie in the mid lane. I mean, Assassin was thinking about a Yasuo. Annie actually does fantastically in that matchup.
Just looking over to Snake's side, they had the option of the Narvan or the Jarvan Rumble. I mean, that's just upside after upside. You know that the Jarvan's going to come through just to signify one of those combos, but now the Narvan Wombos is started. And the scary thing is you've already got so much space control between the Annie ultimate and the Narvan. That's just space for Kalista to hop around and do so much damage.
Yeah, and as well, I mean, instead of opting for that Rumble, which is a lot of mid-game focus, this Gnar can get unkillable in that late game and have so much CC, but look at how far down the line Lissandra got through.
I mean, Lissandra was falling through picks and bans yesterday.
It was.
So Lissandra, 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, don't matter which patch it is, still super strong. But look at this last-second change. Everyone's watching Raphael. Everyone's taking notes from the GE Tigers. Victor's popping up everywhere. We know that Barker can play it. He's tried it. It didn't win the game, but looked quite convincing on the champion. Basically, 3 target bans to Barker now when you take away the Victor.
Yeah, and I just want to talk about our friend Deficio from overseas. Recently tweeting about the fact that he needs to work on his Victor knowledge because, of course, he had this spidey sense that we'd be seeing a lot more of him, and he's definitely right. Going to be locked in here for Assassin in the mid lane, and I love Victor. His burst damage and trading potential is just so good.
We saw Barker's stony face before the cast, but he's just coming over to him now. He's just looking a bit questioned. He doesn't know what to play. Lissandra, you have to say, is a possibility in the mid lane. It's actually a good champion against Victor. If you can get over there, use the Frozen Tomb, lock him down, stop him from getting consistent damage, and it looks like that'll be the lock-in.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, Chaos Storm doesn't actually silence anymore, ladies and gentlemen. It just interrupts those channels, much like the Null Sphere from Kassadin does at the same time. Sigil of Malice, also very similar on the side of LeBlanc, so not going to be helping out as far as stopping the Frozen Tomb from just destroying you.
But just doing a history lesson, going back to that EP series where they played the Victor mid twice, we actually saw this Lissandra versus Victor matchup. On paper, a bad matchup for Victor. The damage game came through very early. I believe it was Rengar Lissandra in that game against the Victor. They were able to pick up the first kill, so there's still assassination, even with the cleanse summoner choice being taken by Assassin. But Victor in the late game fights was able to use his range and his mobility, especially when you get the Fura boots and the enchant on the Q, and just move around and do a lot of damage still. So it feels like in the early laning phase, Victor's going to be risky. There's still the potential being ganked. But after the early laning phase, Victor's quite comfortable in this matchup.
Yeah, and you know, Chaos Storm's consistent damage is fantastic, especially once it has that extra 20% movement speed with the perfect Hex Core. But before that stage, you have to think that being Kalista is probably the best idea as far as avoiding all of that persistent damage from that ultimate.
Yeah, Kalista's mobility is so important. Kalista versus Lucian is the matchup we end up on. I feel like that could be a difficult matchup for Lucian. Lucian can still be a lane bully, not quite Graves in the lane bully terms. In fact, Whoosh played a wonderful Graves earlier. I'm surprised to see it not picked up here. But Alex for the Lucian, a bit more long-range wave clear, you'd have to say, with potential with the ultimate, but not what I was expecting from this draft from King.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look down the Snake draft here as well, very reminiscent of a very recent LGD draft, which decimated their opponents. This Lissandra combo is just so much CC in a team fight, and we know how good Snake is in a team fight as well. I mean, you have to think that if they can execute, which is something that they're very good at, this game could be very, very easy for them towards the later stages of the game once the grouping begins.
So one of the reasons why Lissandra is such a great pick is the space control she puts out, whether it's respecting her Frozen Tomb range or just activating the self-cast on that ability and having that huge zone of slow, you know, the big, I believe, 80-90% slow coming out from that ability at max rank. Lissandra can get in the front line, burst, but also with the Zhonya's especially, go into stasis 5 seconds, zone space for 5 seconds. We've already talked about the Narvan space control. Now Lissandra and Annie thrown in. You have to think Crystal's going to have so much mobility in fights because there's so many zones that King just can't walk through. They have to respect, even with the cleanse, even with the options they have, so much zone of control for a hyper carry to jump around. We might even see the Hurricane Bloodthirster build make it come back here because it looks like, theoretically at least, spread that damage, win those team fights with the Wombo.
Yeah, it's true. We'll see whether those Wombos come through as we hop onto the Rift. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, with King taking on Snake. King going to be on our blue side for the first match of the day. They'll be switching for the next one, though. So, of course, no side bias going to be coming through this game in this best-of-2 format as Assassin hanging out in this mid lane and bit upset that he didn't go for the creative Victor skin. Always very, very cool to see. But the fact that Victor is in this game is just making me so excited. Yeah,
and he's very much in the meta across the world right now. Victor, very, very popular. The matchup's not really clear yet. You can't really say which champions are strong against Victor because, again, Victor's very unexplored as a champion, both in solo queue and competitive. Very much a new champion. Even builds being settled on. I was watching OGN yesterday. LCK, my apologies. And I was seeing a lot slower Hexcore upgrade coming through from Faker, actually favoring picking up AP and flat AP with the Dorans and just going for more combat stats early. There's no real agreement on what to go. You just know that the first augment choice is going to be that E, the Aftershock on the Death Ray.
Yep. MLXG, they're going to go very, very low facing off against this Gromp 1v1. Very difficult to do early on. And both of these bottom lane duos going to be opting for a little bit of a Gromp start / Krug start here in this bottom side, but it's going to be the level 2 advantage here for Snake early on, and King already zoned out.
Yeah, I was just watching MLXG on the side of the screen falling so low in this jungle. These junglers are very good at juggling aggro. Not falling quite to the jungle, but we've seen an execute once already in the LPL. Anything's possible.
Yeah, he still has an extra potion left as well, so just taking his time on that one. He's going to have the smite for the extra health back on red as well, so we'll be able to finish off that camp, and the zone continues here on the bottom side as, man, junglers just don't really want to be alive here in this jungle.
Oh no, they fall so low. I'm very excited to track this Whoosh versus Ella bot lane, so the Whoosh versus Crystal Ella bot lane, just to track this Lucian versus Kalista matchup. The interesting thing to me is that I believe in the early levels...
He might die.
It's feeling very low, but of course can smite the red.
He had smited already. Wow. That was disastrous almost. He still has a potion. Oh dear, MLXG.
He's finally going back. He's tested the limits of the jungle. He's had enough. But Lucian versus Kalista, what interests me is that when you get enough attack speed on Crystal, you'll be able to hop away with that passive away from the Q, from the piercing light. But in the early levels, it feels like that harass should be registering. It feels like we should be able to get in good damage trades with Crystal. But as the laning phase goes on, I feel like this is going to be a difficult lane for Lucian.
And already Assassin's actually pushing up this mid lane as well. And we know that Crystal can take control of a lane if given any leeway. So we'll see whether Wushin and Lamb can actually put some pressure on, because of course, you know, you give Crystal an inch and he'll take a mile.
Absolutely, and we see already some pressure coming through from MLXG, not visiting the lane just yet, but increasing his options around the bot lane.
Yeah, he can tunnel over that wall, of course. Oh, Descent's not going to land. MLXG going to take that as a sign to leave. No cute Relic Shield play to come through from Ella here on Annie, which is a little bit upsetting to me. And so far here in the top side, Flandre being a menace on this mini-Gnar. And actually managing to zone out from a bit of CS, but of course, this wave stacking up now for Sky.
So we saw Sky on Hecarim in their last victory, actually, King, yesterday against M3. And against the Loopers, Rumble was actually able to lane very effectively, stay in lane, rush a Trinity Force without any magic resist. So Sky's obviously quite experienced on laning this Hecarim. It's another difficult matchup, another meta matchup in Hecarim versus now. If he gets through this with the Trinity Force build as well, it just shows us the resilience of this top Hecarim as the meta evolves.
Yeah, and Liam searching for these death sentences, but Ella on the ball as far as being able to move around is concerned. Does have that stun charged up. Lamb actually going to get locked up here a little bit. MLXG, he's gone. The Rend is going to come through, and Crystal gets first blood in the 2v2 in the bottom lane.
Yeah, Lamb just not respecting the damage coming through from Crystal. He might have noticed there was no ignite and thought, okay, I can play a little bit more aggressively, but his positioning was so aggressive that he ate so many Rend stacks as the Ella stun came through and just died in a 2v2.
Yeah, and it was beautiful timing here as well. It was just as MLXG had walked over that ward in the mid lane as he went up that river, and they knew that they could just stun up Lamb and take him down. It was just beautifully played here from Snake, and it's what we've come to expect from this bottom lane that we haven't been necessarily getting in the last few matches.
Yeah, the solo kill, well, the 2v2, you know, no jungle inference kill, though, is always a surprise in the highest level competitive player. Now, Whoosh was already kind of behind that lane, keeping up in CS, but definitely not putting out any lane pressure. I mean, the pressure's just going to be stronger from Crystal after this big first purchase.
Well, it's true, and we'll see whether, you know, this Lucian can come into form as far as...
Whoosh is in trouble.
Oh, he's in a lot of trouble. Oh, flashes onto the Dark Passage and gets over the wall, but that is still a Summoner spell burnt. And that's going to be Lucian having to go back here as well, so Snake going to be able to push up this wave, and it's a bit of wasted experience you have to think going to be soaked by Lamb only.
Well, it's two big mistakes from each of the members of King's bottom lane. Firstly, Lamb not respecting the stun, dying to the Rend stacks coming through from Crystal. Then Whoosh not respecting the brush camp coming out of Crystal and Ella. You have to respect that Annie stun twice in a row. Really influences bottom lane. And King, they were behind before. It's just compounding, losing a whole minion wave to the turret.
Yeah, and Crystal and Ella, they're going to have a free back here as well. It's going to be 10 CS the advantage here for Crystal. Almost about to hit that level 6 as well, and then needs about a third of a level in order to get that one. That Fate's Call going to be huge as far as getting the bears out and on top of the King lineup.
And it's a big issue that after Whoosh was forced back, Lamb wasn't able to roam to mid. They have no defensive wards up. Frozen Tomb active. Of course, Beast level 5, moving towards level 6. With all the gank pressure mid, we can already see Beast camping this mid lane. He needs as many wards as possible, Victor, to relieve a bit of pressure, because the kill pressure coming through from Baka and Beast is immense.
Yeah, and you can see, I mean, the ward control is definitely in the advantage of Snake, and they know it because Ella's here as well, threatening with this potential, not Tibbers, but going to be able to get a stun through here as well as he's coming around. Does have the mobility boots. They're going to be able to close distance. There's a Frozen Tomb. The Cleanse Flash beautifully timed there from Assassin and Chaos Storm just to stop the members of Snake from advancing any further and to clear out the wave. That was beautiful Victor play.
And further credit from Assassin. In the early levels, if you watch the mini-up, he was pushing up aggressively against Barker. Only now, once level 6 was achieved, was he able to control the wave, keep it towards his turret, and that's the reason why he lived. If he was still pushing after level 6 against this Jarv and Lissandra combo, he would have given away his life. But Assassin smart with the use of Summoners, but the Fate's Call has been activated.
Yeah, Fate's Call. The Death Sentence did land there from Lamb for the first time here, but he's getting so low here in this battle. And the Rend hasn't even gone off. Sky coming in though. Ella with a beautiful flash, but there's the Onslaught of Shadows. The rock to come through from Flandre. And Sky just going to have to disengage. Of course, the bottom lane already too low to come back into that fight. And both of these top laners sort of just going to hang around for a little bit and then probably head back top.
Yeah, it would have been a 1-for-1 trade. If Sky had gone for the Assassination earlier, he would have got it between the Onslaught of Shadows and the Ignite, but he would have given up another kill to Crystal, and Whoosh cannot stand for that. At the point that it's still tenuous in the bottom lane, but Lucian, it feels like the lane's going to scale away from you. You can see the attack speed pickups have come through from Crystal. We've seen people try and get BF swords early, but Assassin's in trouble again.
Yeah, Barker coming through here as well. There's the Frozen Tomb onto Assassin. Gravity Field just to stop people from coming, but Assassin, he's burning down and he's going to die. The double kill now for Snake as Beast picks up another kill. And Crystal, he's wasting no time starting off this dragon.
And it feels like a callback to early weak Snake. The rotations from them are much improved compared to the last few series. Very smart rotation to the mid. 4 members in the right spot at the right time. No pressure relief from King, and they lose the dragon.
Yep, smarted away beautifully there from Beast. Of course, that Ren doing quite a bit of work here as well. Is only going to get more and more dangerous as the Hurricane comes through. Of course, a lot more attack speed and things like that. Wushin and Lamb now copying a little bit of damage. And I love Crystal's Callista here as well. I mean, using that Ren to such great effect, even in just trades in the lane.
Absolutely. It's just very smart using the early trading was wonderful coming through from Crystal. Now, this wasn't respected by Lamb. Got the first advantage in the bottom lane, and it's just snowballed further and further in Crystal's advantage. That's why I love the attack speed. The reason why the attack speed pickup is so intelligent is that, of course, it lets the passive be active more often. You can just hop away from that piercing light, dodge the big damage trades that come through from Lucian. And it's just like if Corki misses his Phosphorus Bomb auto. If you miss your piercing light auto on Lucian, you just can't trade with the Callista.
Yeah, and there's not quite as much synergy here as, you know, the wife steal bottom lane that we used to call this one. It's not necessarily the best. There was actually sort of word from Doublelift as well. I mean, saying that, you know, Lucian Thresh, not the greatest lane, but does get a lot of play just because both of those champions at the time were so incredibly strong on their own. But as far as lane synergy, there's not all that much there. I
mean, it used to be the fact that Lucian's damage trades were insane. The piercing light doing so much damage, the passive being so strong. You could just get the big damage trades every time the death sentence came through from Lamb, or in this case from Lucian, Thresh. In this situation, with the numbers tuned down for Lucian, he finds it harder to lane against matchups that aren't Corki, where he can't avoid burst. And if it's just an auto-attack trade coming through from Crystal, there's not much Whoosh can do.
Yeah, it's true. You can see it already, the pressure being put on here in this bottom side. Beast not going to be spotted out as he heads into this bottom lane. And Lamb doesn't have his flash. Of course, Wushin does have both of those summoner spells, can heal up his support if he does get into trouble. But you can see, I mean, there's just relentless pushing here on the bottom side.
Absolutely. They're completely disrespecting Lucian. They want him to use his mana to clear the wave, not going to be available for trades, and they have no worries whatsoever of the jungle pressure coming through from MX2. There's a significant jungle pressure advantage coming through from Beast just because he's a stronger skirmisher, but the fight's actually on.
Yeah, I mean, that was... I mean, we're talking about jungle skirmishes, and Lamb just died. He just got Cataclysm, didn't have his flash. And so, of course, he's just going to fall down. And next time, I think we'll probably just try and jump in there because this action just sort of erupts on this rift at this stage.
Yeah, just keep pushing relentlessly. Nothing Whoosh can do. No lane control whatsoever for King. You have to say the same thing in mid. You have to see Victor play so defensive. It's just defensive posturing across the map. And King, this is like their first game yesterday. They're just ceding all advantages to Snake.
And this bottom lane outer turret is going to fall down here as well. MLXG doesn't have the Void Rush, can't pay a visit here to the bottom side, which he's already at. And that's going to be the knock-up here onto Ella as well. He's going down very, very low. Fate's Call going to get used just to get him to safety. And Crystal taking care of this little girl. Very, very nice.
Yeah, just a little bit of love and tender care coming through for
Annie.
I mean,
you've got to. You know, she's still in kindergarten.
Worth knowing that this whole time we've ignored top lane. Sky is farming up. Of course, he visited bottom lane along with Na, but has farming very, very well. Working towards the Trinity Force. Definitely not spending any gold on early combat stats. He's happy to go for that big power spike, but we talked about Whoosh is on the back foot in the bottom lane. Assassin's on the back foot in the mid lane, and now they don't even have pressure in the top lane. If you see advantages in all three sides of the map, and you even have a jungle skirmish advantage coming out from Snake, you can only hope to lose the minimum if you're King. And if Snake are assertive and take big advantages, this is nothing you can do.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, Barker as well doing fantastic in this mid lane, like you mentioned. This is a guy that was largely banned out in the champion select of this game, but looking pretty comfortable here on the Lissandra and making the plays that he needs to as well. It's a lot of a sort of about play style for the whole team when you're playing around a Lissandra, making use of that Frozen Tomb, getting all of the extra damage to augment that lockdown. Void Rush going to be used towards the Gromp here as Sky just wanders past as well, and MLXG just Not even wanting to take that one as he just hangs out around his tunnels.
Just not able to put out any jungle pressure. In fact, being out-pressured by Annie, who you can see already roaming around the map. The outer turret goes down. That's 2 turrets to 0. Soon to be 3, you have to think. And again, King, they're just losing every single structure that's open to Snake.
Yeah, Lame going to come around and sort of protect this inner turret in the top lane, but you can see with the pushing power that Crystal now has with this Hurricane, soon to be the Blade of the Ruin King as well, you have to think, or it could just be Berserker's Greaves into that Bloodthirster as well. Both of these item choices fantastic for pushing the waves. He just rends up every one of these minions about a couple of times, and then instantly that wave's cleared.
Absolutely. The wave clear between the Hurricane and, of course, all the CDR coming through. It's 40% CDR coming through from Barker. Instant wave clear coming through from the Sandra, just with 2 spell rotations. The wave clear is on. The map is so pressured, and the aggressive wards, they keep being pushed further and further, and the defensive wards being cleared out for King. Snake, they want every advantage. Now red buffs, blue buffs, let alone turrets, are all going to be contested as this game goes on.
Yeah, Barker looking to get a Glacial Path in here as well. Flandre gets hooked up, but I don't think Lamb really wants to go in onto that one, as there's the smite from Beast, and it's the easy red steal, and not really much of a steal. That was a brute force.
Absolutely, just brute forcing away. He doesn't have his smite available for Dragon. It might just be off cooldown at that point, but realistically, King cannot get in position to contest the Dragon. They're going to lose their 3rd outer turret. At least get it very, very low. And Snake, they're taking everything.
Yeah, it's true. And you have to hand it to Crystal here, really utilizing this sort of power spike that we haven't really experienced from Kalista, able to push up these waves. And he took the outer ring of turrets in such quick succession. That was about a 5-minute period where all of those towers went down. And now, out of nowhere, there's a 5,000 gold lead for Snake.
Usually when we see AD carries rotate and take turrets, we see the Triniforce carry like Corki, or maybe a Graves who gets a very fast Bloodthirster.
Or a Caitlyn here as well, yeah.
Or Caitlyn, you know, the very early, long-range turret-taking champions. But in this case, it's Crystal, just using that Hurricane power spike for pushing, and using it brilliantly, and Snake rotating like a top team. Their last couple of series, they've been struggling against some of the bottom teams in the league, but against the top team here, doing very well.
Yeah, really beautiful play. MLXG not quite able to have the impact on this map that he at all wants. I mean, does have a Sightstone here available, finished off his Warrior Enchantment as well in coupling with that Skirmisher's Saber. Does, of course, have that Chilling Smite available for some extra CC, but you can see, you know, 0-1-0, the impact has been nothing here from this Rek'Sai.
And double Sightstone, all it leads to is a very overwarded defensive jungle, but no hope of really pushing these wards and contesting any objectives, just because, again, we're waiting for people to power up. So far behind in terms of combat stats is this Hecarim. I'm still working towards that Trinity Force. Had to buy early armor, so got a Ninja Tabi, but Trinity Force is going to be 22, 25 minutes into the game, whereas Flandre has got the Phage for laning, but already got cost-effective magic resist and armor. The frontline difference between these two teams is night and day.
Yeah, and we've seen this coming through from Looper as well. Flandre seems to have taken a note from his book. Just pick up that Phage so you can be as annoying as possible in mini-Gnar form, utilizing that hyper, utilizing the boomerang for the slow, and able to be really, really sticky. And then move into defensive stats from there. I mean, it used to be the Brutalizer that was opted in for as far as that sort of offensive choice, but now with this Phage, it just gives this Gnar so much mobility.
Yeah, back when there was lower cooldown on the Q, lower cooldown on the boomerang toss, it made sense to get Brutalizer, have that Q hurt more, have that Q impact more, but MLXG's been caught.
Yeah, there's the Cataclysm to come through. He tunnels under and takes the Dark Passage. That was beautiful, but Flandre, he gets a Gnar onto him as well, as MLXG's definitely going to fall. Beast's going to take that death sentence, but that ability is not named correctly as he's going to get slowed down here as well. Barker now turns up. There's the rock into the back of the head. That gravity field was fantastic, though, from Assassin, and it stops the further push from Snake, but not in the top lane as the Onslaught of Shadows gets the fear onto Crystal. The exhaust to come through, forcing the flash out there as the culling comes down. Crystal dancing around this fight. There's the Tivers onto Wushin. The Fates call in as well, and Flandre throws a boomerang and picks up the kill after another beautiful teleport. And Flandre just looks like he's everywhere on this map.
Yeah, Woosh not respecting the re-engage potential coming through from Ella with the Tibbers. Eventually dies to the Q being thrown out by Flandre. Excellent teleport coming through. Flandre's gone very aggressive. He's turret diving.
Yeah, there's actually the W onto Lamb, and he just dies. Crystal now trying to get some work done. Flandre's just so tanky. Barker turns up. Here's Beast. Everyone from Snake in this top side. And the inner turret is definitely going to die now.
Atlas, it's been 2 weeks since we've seen this from Snake, but they're back to their old playstyle, disregarding turrets as if they're OMG in 2013, playing so aggressively. It's wonderful to watch, and this is where Snake trying to reaffirm themselves as one of the top teams in China.
Yeah, it's true. And Crystal now, he's gone back. As we mentioned before, it could have been that Blade of the Ruin King, but no, Bloodthirster finished off for that extra shield, the extra flat damage here as well, and he has the Berserker's Grief. So he sort of hit the items that he really wants here in this mid-game by 19 minutes, and it's just a really scary Kalista.
And I like this response coming from Sky. He understands that if he goes for Trinity Force, he's going to be too far behind in terms of being a frontline tank and going to be eaten up and murdered by Crystal on this Kalista. So gets a bit of magic resist, gets a bit of armor, but it's going to be late into the game when we see a frontline that this Kalista can't deal with. She's very strong in terms of damage with the Bloodthirster Hurricane completed so early. She's going to be able to skip past the tanks and do damage and spread Ren stacks to the whole of the King team. Late into the game, so another 20 minutes, we might see Sky strong enough, and MLXG also lending a hand to be a strong enough frontline to deal with the Hurricane Kalista. Of course, Hurricane Kalista struggles to get through 2, 3, 4 armor item tanks, but at least for the next 10, 15 minutes, they're going to have to opt away from every fight, give away those dragons, give away potentially even a Baron, because they are not tuned to deal with this Kalista.
Yeah, it's really not working out. You can see the faces here of these players sort of trying to work out what the heck they can do. Of course, Barker, no, he's pretty psyched about the whole situation, of course, in a winning state, but my goodness, our King members, somber are the faces.
I mean, he's added Lissandra to the champion pool. It looked fine on Lissandra. Of course, Lissandra, a very reliable champion, but also one very prone to fall down the bans, whether you're on blue or red side. So not necessarily going to be a huge pocket pick coming through from Barker, but at least it's a champion that he's shown that he's competitively ready to play.
Yeah, it's true. And we'll just see what happens. We are going to get an unpause very soon, but King, they really need to start getting onto the board here because 0 and 8 is the scoreline, 10,000 gold at 19.5 minutes, and I mean, that used to be nails in the coffin here, and you have to think that that's only worse now that the Snakes are already up 2 dragons as well.
8-0, 2-0 in dragons, 4-0 in turrets. They've actually, at the moment, on course for the perfect game. It's going to be at least the perfect 20 minutes, you'd have to say.
Oh,
but they're looking for more.
And Chris are going to be able to take away these Krugs here at the same time. The second upgrade of that Hex Core to come through from Assassin, really wanting that movement speed from the Q, as well as that wave clear that you get from the Death Ray. But it's, you have to think, probably a little too late at this stage. 20 CS down, which is actually not too bad considering, you know, that this is arguably a stomp. Barker, he's finished off that. This is a Lissandra that's hit exactly what she needs to be getting. Now just wants to get more damage.
I'm hesitant to call it a stomp just because, again, there's some scaling possibility for King. But the danger and the downside of this King lineup is, once again, they're hoping for a Snake mistake to buy enough time. Flandre, he's not really worried about the damage coming through. 1v2ing this King bottom lane.
Yeah, there's the culling to come through. Flandre just tanking it up as he manages to get the Mega Gnar there as well. He hits the boulder, jumps over the wall there as well. Oh, misses the Gnar, but I think that Liam might still be in trouble. Wallop doesn't land. Death Sentence is going to be there. Wushin's going to cop a rock to the head as MLXG finds his way around as well. And Flandre, he might be out of options, but he's wasted a lot of time here for his Snake members. Eventually, he falls down. A little bit unfortunate about that Gnar falling away, and Snake actually unable to capitalize too much.
Yeah, even though he made the mistake, missed out on the kill distribution doesn't even go to Woosh. It actually falls to MLXG. Not ideal, because they're going to need Woosh to kind of do an imitation of STYZ's Lucian yesterday, when he was able to pick up 4 damage item and get through a frontline tank. It's going to be difficult for him here, but the ult's been used.
Yeah, MLXG sort of comes into the fight and then just dies instantly. Crystal hanging out in that gravity field for just a little bit, but doesn't worry about it as Sky's going to fall down as well. Tanky Hecarim? Not really. Not at this stage of the game. Crystal just eats through him.
Yeah, Crystal's just so much more tuned for damage than the defensive stats coming through from Sky and MLXG. They just die in the AoE, specifically, as you mentioned, MLXG teleporting and then, of course, instantly dying.
Yeah, it comes in and sort of, it's like he teleported onto a frozen tomb for himself. It was not exactly what you want to do. Third dragon now being attempted by Snake, and you have to think nothing that King can do about this one, especially at this 10,000 gold deficit that they found themselves in.
I mean, both these tanks have to engage at the same time. Otherwise, it's a bit like the Kool-Aid man. Hey, guys, and then he's dead. That's just all that's happening, unfortunately. Oh, yeah. It has to be a flank. It has to be a strong pick. Otherwise, these tanks melt like butter.
Yeah, Flandre, though, definitely doesn't. Took a lot of members of the King lineup in order to do anything to this guy. He's about to have his teleport back up. His flash is once again available, and he has more than 40 CS in advantage over Sky at this stage of the game.
I mean, it's just also the natural laning matchup. Na's going to be useful much earlier as we see Flandre skipping around skill shots.
His fancy footwork is fantastic. Not hit by any of those abilities thrown out by the King members. And it's just that cheeky ward somehow out of the way of that pink, really sort of allowing him to make those moves. And you can see no one's sort of able to stand toe-to-toe with this Na. The split push is so easy, and it's sort of a 1-3-1 situation now for Snake, where they just throw Crystal into wave clear duty in this bottom side, and Flandre drawing so much attention in this top side.
Ironically, it almost feels more like a 1-1-1, and there's two members just looking for a pick, hoping for a gank. Annie and Beast aren't really interested in being in lanes. They just the Korean duo on stage just want to get picks as people rotate to try and answer the very strong pushing from Lissandra, from Na, from especially Crystal in the bottom lane. And look, they've set up perfectly for Baron. No vision whatsoever near this Baron. They can take it whenever they damn well please.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, with this 1-1-1, it does leave two members with Sightstones on warding duty and sweeping duty around this Baron. And we just saw exactly how black the vision was for King. They're not going to see anything. There's just everything in Snake's back pocket at this stage. And you have to think they could just go for the Baron. Come on, boys.
I mean, the reason why we don't usually see a 1-1-1 is, of course, there's so much potential for multiple members to gank a lane. But if you have no vision and you have such strong pushing ability coming out of the three champions, why not do it? And look, this Baron, it's basically free.
Yeah, Sky, I mean, he has that teleport, but he's got nothing to teleport to around this Baron. And with Kalista, so much damage potential. King have no idea. They're nowhere near it. And this Baron, it can probably get rendered down right now.
Look, maybe they have an educated guess, but there's certainly nothing they can do about it. It's definitely a situation where whatever they're saying, there's nothing they can do to react. It's a free Baron completely coming through to Snake. And, okay, a trade for a bottom outer turret, but as close to free as going to be.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult to say worth on that one as Flandre. He's going to go back to mini-Na form, defend this inner turret in the bottom side. And you have to think with Baroned up minions and a very strong Na at this stage, actually going for that Trinity Force as his next item. You can see the pieces of the Zeal have been picked up. Flandre is so strong. With that Banshee's fail at the same time, not going to be worrying too much about Assassin, and especially the upfront burst to possibly come through. But he's got so much health, he wasn't worrying anyway.
And the thing that teams should take away from this is that Snake are putting on a masterclass of how to play when you're ahead. World Elite should probably take note after their struggles in past days. But this is what you do when you have an advantage. They have an advantage in all three lanes. We've seen other teams in similar situations just kind of dawdle, or just start Baron, the enemy team contests it, go for a turret and not be able to finish it out. They've been so decisive. As you mentioned, everyone had a role. 3 people pushing lanes, 2 people clearing vision and putting down their own vision with wards.
Goodness.
And that's the result. Everything is for an MLXG. He might die just trying to contest the red.
Yeah, there's the Smite proc to come through here as well, but oh my goodness, Hyper just does so much work. The Cataclysm come down on MLXG. Liam gets caught up by the Tibbers stun at the same time. The Gravity Field's decent, gets flashed out of the way of, and look at that Ren damage on top of Assassin. Just ridiculous. And Flandre just tanking up the turret because he wants to, I think, is probably why. And
it's about sending a message, Atlas.
It certainly is. The playback here from Liam, and Wushin gets caught by the Frozen Tomb. Snake are taking up residence in the King base, and this inhibitor turret going to fall down now as well. Snake with so much power this game. This is what we were coming to expect and what we haven't got out of Snake in the last few games.
And this feels like Snake sending a message, certainly. It's we're here and we're here to play. Ignore the last couple of weeks. Ignore some of our performances, because when we're on form, this is what you have to be scared about. The surrender actually comes through. And a very quick win comes through from Snake. Wonderful performance from them.
Yeah, really beautiful shutout play from Snake. They strangled that game as soon as they possibly could, all off the back of the fantastic play coming through from Ella and Crystal in the bottom lane. As soon as they have an advantage, you feel like the whole game gets easier for every other member of Snake, and they do things like move Ella to the mid lane and just destroy whoever Bark is facing.
I mean, when Crystal wins lane, that's what it opens up Ella to do. Ella starts the roam, able to put down aggressive wards, was helped from the strong ganking presence of Beast. When these core champions come through, of course, this is Jarvan coming out of Beast. Beast has been on non-Nunu, non-Jarvan picks in the last few games, and it's definitely hurt their pressure. But when they have this skirmish advantage, it's so wonderful to see a team understand their identity, understand their win conditions, push up all the lanes, double Sightstone, clearing junglers, and supports come through. And the Korean duo made the map black. That's why it was a free Baron coming through from Snake, and they finished the game.
Yeah, really beautiful play. And Ella, with 12 out of 14 kills participated in as well, he was all over the map as soon as he got those mobility boots, making sure that he gets the maximum out of that purchase by being able to just walk at someone and get a guaranteed stun. And there's nothing a Victor can do in that situation. What do? Nothing. Incinerate is just guaranteed stun, and you're going to die, especially with the follow-up from Bark.
After those two individual mistakes, firstly, of course, we saw Liam falling in the bottom lane during a trade, then Whoosh eating a stun and having to back. It felt like they could never get back into the game. It was very reminiscent, of course, of Candy out-pressuring Whoosh in the series yesterday, and it was a similar sort of situation. We need to see King's bot lane in particular level up, because it wasn't just their bot lane that suffered that game. Ella could roam, it started the snowball in the mid lane, and the game ended shortly afterwards. They need to respect that bottom lane, because it's one of Snake's major points.
Yeah, and this is another example. Let's see, ladies and gentlemen, whether King can perform another turnaround like they did in their series yesterday and come back against a newly found formed up Snake.